I want to thank everybody for coming out. My name is Pete Janko. I'm running for state representative. And I really want to thank our governor, JB Pritzer, for coming out. A while back, he made a commitment that he was going to help every Democratic candidate in the state, and this is his kickoff event for doing that.
Thank you very much, Pete. Thank you very much, everybody coming out today, and especially for your support for Pete. We are not leaving any place in the state out of our battle against the, well, right-wing fringe that we're all running against, and Pete especially. This is everywhere it's challenging this year. You know, this is a Republican Party that is driven by Donald Trump, that on the one hand some days says they support law enforcement, but when law enforcement goes and executes a search warrant on the former president, all of a sudden they don't support law enforcement. This is a right-wing party that we're all running against that honestly doesn't really believe in working families. Yesterday they were at the state fair. They had the Republican Day at the state fair and stood up and said that, well, you know, we don't have any fat cats supporting our party this year, so now we're a party for the working families of Illinois. I'm not kidding. That is what they said. It's crazy. But we are the party of working families. We are the party that fights for the middle class, the working class, people who've been left out and left behind. And we've been doing that for as long as I can remember, and especially when I ran 4 years ago, I stood up and told you all what I was going to do. And over the last 4 years, working with many of you, we've gotten these things done. And I'm really proud of what we've gotten done. And I'm just going to briefly remind you what those are, because it's what we're still fighting for. Because if we lose, if Pete loses, if I lose, honestly, we can go backward in this state. Even though I think we've made a ton of progress, it can all be taken away.
We all lose.
We all lose. So let me remind you what we got done. We raised the minimum wage in this state from $8.25 to $15 an hour. We protected a woman's right to choose by passing the Reproductive Health Act. We passed the largest infrastructure bill in the history of the state of Illinois, and not only is it rebuilding our roads and our bridges and our airports, we're modernizing our river ports. We've got an awful lot of investment in our education buildings, on university campuses, and in local schools from this infrastructure bill that we passed. And I will remind you that mostly the Republicans voted against it. There were two bills. This is what I think is funny. There were two bills that we had to pass in order to get the infrastructure bill passed. One was the bill to pay for it, and one was the bill with all the projects in it. So guess what? The Republicans voted for the one with all the projects in it, but they didn't vote to pay for it. Because the Republicans are not the party of fiscal responsibility. They, for 4 years before I became governor, well, two of them, they had no budget at all. They had a governor who literally vetoed budgets, one after another, and as you saw, it broke down state government. It broke down state government. So when I became governor, we not only did we pass 4 years of balanced budgets, we Democrats, but we also made sure that we were paying for the services that people really need, mental health services, substance abuse treatment, making sure we're paying the bills for education. We added $1.2 billion, in fact, almost $1.3 billion more to our education system statewide. These are all things out of a balanced budget. And in this time of inflation that we're all suffering, and everybody, you know, whether you're buying gas or you're at the grocery store, you understand what's happening to prices across the state. So what did we do? We provided tax relief, because that's the moment, you know, this is the moment when people need to have dollars back in their pockets. So not only did we freeze the gas tax and eliminate the grocery tax, but we also are sending 3, depending upon how many kids you have and how many home, but around $300 to $400 of a check directly to all of you beginning in September, thanks to Susana Mendoza, our controller. And and if you're a property owner and you're paying property taxes, where we added another $300 of relief to property taxpayers. And these are just things that we did. Oh, and I forgot to mention the earned income tax credit. Very important that we improved and enlarged the earned income tax credit. So these are all things that we Democrats got done because we balanced the budget. The Republicans voted against the last 3 years of budgets. They are not the party of fiscal responsibility. We are. So I want to conclude because I want to make sure we get pictures together. But there's an awful lot to say. I mean, Democrats deliver. We're the ones who put these things forward, and in the end, it was Democrats that voted for them. We're the ones who stood up to the Republicans to make sure that we were relieving the financial challenges and the health challenges of COVID-19. The Republicans voted against all of it. They voted against rent assistance. They voted against homeowners assistance. This is all during the worst parts of the pandemic when people really are suffering, right? We Democrats voted to make sure to distribute those things. The Republicans voted against it. So we have a lot to be proud of. But if we do not win, if Pete does not win, if we do not get our voters out, then all of it can be taken away, all of it. One last thing that I want to point out. So Pete is somebody who shows up for Democrats. I know that because he's shown up for many of you and for me. And he will do that when he gets elected as state representative. We need you to vote for Pete. I would like you to vote for me.
We can't forget about Amin, who's running. He's our first county treasurer candidate in 20 years, and Jack Kaskel is running and Jack's running for county board out in this district. That's District 8. So if you're in Harvard, Marengo, and where else?
Harvard, Marengo, anybody? Anywhere else?
Richmond, Hebron, Alton.
Okay. All right, everybody. Those are 2 more candidates that you need to vote for. I don't want you to forget about. Okay, District 2. Anybody else running? Yeah. District 63. Excellent. All right. Rick Kocher, District 64, state rep. Oh, there you are. All right, Cece. It should be easy to remember on the ballot, right? Right there. Oh. Okay, I'm still going to tell you about 2 more races because all of you, I mean, really, we have to vote for Democrats up and down the ballot, folks. We have to. There's quickly I want to remind you of, because when you think about what's important, leadership in the state, all the things that we've accomplished, here's something that could reverse it all. There are 2 open seats on the Supreme Court in Illinois. No one's paying attention. No one's paying attention. If we lose those 2 seats, and they are swing districts, if we lose those 2 seats, there will be a Republican majority on the Supreme Court in the state of Illinois, and that means they can take away a woman's right to choose. They can take away workers' rights. They can essentially overturn anything that we get done when Pete gets into the legislature and I'm reelected governor. The Supreme Court of Illinois will be just as bad as the Supreme Court of the United States. So make sure you vote in those races. Make sure you tell people to vote in those. And make sure you contribute a few dollars to those candidates, because we cannot lose them. Folks, thank you for being great Democrats and supporting progressive candidates and people who stand up for, again, for working families in the state of Illinois. That is what our party really, in the end, is all about, working families and those who've been left out, left behind. And I'm proud to be the governor of this state and hope to continue to do that for the next 4 years. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you to Gretchen, who I didn't get to meet yet. Thank you to Gretchen and Yasek.